Welcome back to Step by Step. We come here every week to make over a piece of furniture step by step. This week's pretty exciting because it's another collaboration with some Dixie Belle retailers. There were 6 of us this go round, and I'm super excited because my partner is the lovely Terri Stowell from Sisterhood of the Traveling Brush. I'll make sure to put a link at the end of the video for her video and also in the description box for her channel. Please subscribe. Terri's from Louisiana. I would have loved to have met in person, but a Zoom call was the next best thing, and here's how that went. I'm so excited. I got this box in the mail from Terri from Sisterhood of the Traveling Brush. I'm just so excited, Terri. We're doing this Dixie Belle challenge. So I'm going to go ahead and unpack mine and see what goodies are in here. I'm really excited. Okay. Wow. Okay. I won't look at the paint and stuff yet, but I see a note here. Oh, from Louisiana, the Bayou State, and there's a little piece of a transfer on there. It says, "Hi, Levon. I'm so excited to be your partner in the Bells and Whistles challenge. Before when we talked, I asked you what your top 3 favorite paint colors were, and what your 3 best-selling colors were, and what your least used colors were. So based on that, I sent you some paint to use on your project, along with your boho soul transfer." Oh, I've been waiting to use that one. Have fun. So excited to see your project, Terri. Woo, I'm excited to see what's in here. Well, boy, there's stuff that is not paint also. So look, a little furniture piece. I love this because I use these for my displays on my silk. So that's cool because I don't have all of them done yet. Ooh, this is like Christmas. This is I don't know whether you say FIFO or FIFO bottle.
I say FIFO, first
FIFO?
in, first out.
First in, first out. I've always wanted to try one of these bottles. So decide whether I want to invest in getting them. So I take it you use them all the time?
I do use them all the time. And the secret that I see so many people not doing with them is because I've used them in the restaurant business first, is you store them with the spout down, and that's how your first in first out works, because you'll refill from the other end, and that way your old paint always comes out first and it doesn't leak through the little hole.
Right, it makes a little seal, looks like, right?
It makes a little seal of its own, and it's perfect if you're doing classes and things like that, or if you just want to squirt out a little bit here and there, or be able to visually see your colors. I love working with them. I don't have all my colors in them, of course, but all my most popular ones I do.
Okay, well, I'm going to definitely give that a try, and that might become a habit of mine too. Okay, oh boy. Things that a painter loves. These are stir sticks, which you need, or tongue depressors. Oh, and what do we have here? Oh, cool. Lip drink, lip balm. Who doesn't need that? You know, our weather today is going from 61 as a high to supposed to be 80 tomorrow.
I think we're going to get about 80 today too.
Wow. Well, and gloves, you know, I always need that, because if you look at my manicure right now, you'll see it has paint all over.
No, mine always.
And you know what? I was explaining to my husband my cycle of clothing, how that works. So what is this? Is this a little sponge that you add water to?
It is. And it becomes a round sponge, which is nice for dabbing on or wiping off, or, you know, use it with cleaning or whatever, but they take up so little room whenever they're new like that. I just love them.
Oh, that's cool.
A makeup sponge originally, but of course everything becomes a paint sponge.
Yeah. More gloves here. And let me see, your business card.
Always important.
Derma E, vitamin C, instant radiant citrus facial peel.
There you go. Not that I think you need that. I think everybody needs that on their day off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look at this. This is a gorgeous hunk of, looks like amethyst, right?
It is amethyst. I just love it. And I know it's kind of weird, but I love it.
I love amethyst too. I love it. So do you know like what it's supposed to channel or anything, these people that are into the stones?
I know it all. And right this minute, I remember nothing of it. Right now, it's purple. And I think purple is beautiful. And I believe that it brings peace and calm and serenity and all those good, pleasant energies to you.
Yeah, we all need that. And I'm redoing my room upstairs, so like my space, so we'll just bring some serenity to the space. That sounds good. All right, well, there's some paint in here, so okay, this must have been from my least used. Holy guacamole.
I love holy guacamole.
Yeah, I never use this color, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Awesome.
So let's see what else. Caviar, that must be from one of my top sellers.
Yep.
And
I think that's a top 15 consistently with Dixie Belle.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's another one, and this is one of my favorites. So that was from my favorite category, I guess, and that's sawmill gravy. It's so weird because like I'm always telling people, don't pick whites, it's boring when they come to classes. But I'm just in love with this color. It's
so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I did all my display pieces in sawmill gravy we just moved into a different store, and I painted all of our display pieces in sawmill gravy.
Oh, wow. I just love it. So the boho soul transfer, I'll go ahead and open mine up so you won't have to, but we'll just show them how pretty it is. And let's see, I'm dropping sticks and everything. This is so pretty. So we have the feathers. I'm kind of glad I picked the caviar. We have the little arrows and flowers. And another sheet like that. That looks pretty much the same, maybe a little different. Oh, that's 2-part, I think. Maybe. It's a darker outline, so. Oh, and this one I never noticed. There's all kinds of cool stuff hanging from the chains, like not just feathers, but little bottles with stuff in them and crystals. That goes well with our amethyst. So
yeah.
Okay. And of course, gorgeous feathers and dream catchers. Beautiful.
It's such a nice transfer.
Yeah. So there's that, and then where's here it is. The card that came out, because I noticed there's we made a deal before we did this, can't lie. But there's a little piece of a transfer, and this was from the cacti and succulents, right?
It was from the cacti and succulents. I just made a sign for a welcome sign for my front door with that one. I had it open, and I'm like, you know what? I love this so much. I'm going to put a little clip in there.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I'm excited to see where you put it.
Make it work. All right, Terri. Well, I have a question for you, and then maybe you're ready to open your box.
I want to open my box.
Okay. So besides what you sent me, I'm allowed to use other colors, right?
Yep. Anything you want. It's your piece. I still want you to love it when you're done. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Well, it's your turn.
So here's my furniture piece. A little underwhelming, right? A little yucky. But I have a thought where we're going with these colors. And just to show you, this is a vintage tool, and it's meant to take the staples and the tacks out of furniture. So I'm just going to do my thing, and then I'm going to tell you where I'm going with this. So even though we're using the boho soul transfer, I decided to mix it up a little bit, and I'm using the steampunk transfer as well. I love the wood grain on this desktop, so I'm applying the transfer directly to the wood grain. We started with a thorough cleaning with Dixie Belle's White Lightning. So this process was a little time consuming because there's a little lip around the edge of this desk, and I wanted to make the transfer not cover the edges, just on the inside. So the first piece was a little bit experimental, and then the second piece was easy peasy. I burnished the transfer with a little stick that comes in the box. I simply put it in position. What's nice is the transparent backing, so you can see exactly where you want it before you set it down. And just continue to rub that piece until the transfer is successfully adhered to your furniture piece. I tried to lift up the corners a little bit and start to peel it back. So again, this one was a little experimental because I kind of went after it a little oddly. I grabbed a blade and I lightly scored around the inside, using my fingers to just kind of follow that track. This wasn't a great idea, first of all, because I couldn't score it very deeply because I didn't want to scratch the piece. I only wanted to score the transfer. It really didn't make it so that I could peel it away. So the next step was I just grabbed some scissors and I cut it away. And of course I saved the little pieces of transfer that came off because they're perfect for lots of small projects. So you just want to put it back on the backing sheet and save that for another project. I had a little bit of the transfer come off on the sides, so I was able to peel them back a little bit, and I also used a little bit of sandpaper to get rid of the areas that I didn't want. Ta-da! Here's the big reveal. And time for the second piece. So I cut that edge off where they meet up. I'm making sure that I get the right side to cut off. As they say, measure twice, cut once. Well, that's sort of the idea here. Take a second and third look before you start cutting or start applying a transfer. Especially when you have a pattern like this that's so crucial to match it up in the right place. Otherwise, you lose the major design. Or people can see exactly where you put it. I cut off the excess just so that I didn't have to worry about that. And this time, I also cut off the excess around the edges before I got too far as well. But I'm matching it up, taking my time, and then once you do that, you're kind of committed, because if you try to lift it up at that point, it's going to start sticking. So I'm facing the opposite direction now so that I can trim this up. So now it's time for some color. Remember, holy guacamole. This is a color I'm not used to using. And I really have a concept in my mind, but I'm not 100% sure. So really the whole process is just coming from the heart to the brush. So I'm a little off camera here, but I begin to paint around the edges, but I don't want to paint the whole way. So you can see that I just put a little bit there, and then I proceed to paint the rest of the back of the chair. So remember, my colors are holy guacamole, caviar, and sawmill gravy. Now at this point I don't have the chair attached. I'm just kind of pulling it back a little bit. So part of the prep that we didn't show you was removing the yucky fabric from that chair seat. I have a thing about chair seats. If they look decent, then I want to keep them that way. So that's what we're going to do with this piece. So I continue to coat the top part with the holy guacamole. I think my sweater kind of matches the paint. Maybe it's a little brighter, but definitely in the same color family. So I take the same brush. I didn't even wash it out. I'm just using a flat brush, a small one. And I dipped it in the sawmill gravy because the container was almost empty. And while the paint was still wet, I am just doing like a dry blend with these two colors. And it kind of gave it just the look I was going for. So I would paint down so far, and then I would put the brush on the guacamole and kind of pull it up into the sawmill gravy to make the blend, and it worked out just fine. I added a little bit extra holy guacamole and then just kind of pulled it up in to the wet sawmill gravy paint, just trying to avoid any harsh lines. And of course that's what blending's all about. So I continue with this area until I'm content. And now it's time to move on to the caviar. I wiped most of the paint off of the brush, but I am still using the same brush because I want to blend these two colors together. Now this is going to be a lot more difficult of a blend to put these two colors together than it was to blend the sawmill gravy and the holy guacamole. I do use the mister bottle with these two colors. And I like the way it's blending up into the sawmill gravy area as well. So I continue to paint, and then I decide to add those little stripes, and I decide that I'm not going to worry about being perfect with that. So here's time to use the boho sole transfer. So I'm applying a transfer on a transfer, and it goes up into the chair. I just love this particular piece of this transfer. That's my favorite image on this whole transfer. A feather And then it has all these little wisps and lines and little tiny birds in it. So it just looks so magical to me. I love it. And I love the bright colors. As I always say, there are no accidents, and I really had just a vague concept of what I wanted to convey with this piece. And it just kind of came about kind of organically, and I really like that. So I'm applying these transfers in weird little areas where the chair bends. So you can see that I'm using scissors as I put the transfer on to just conform the transfer around the edges. Obviously, I've sped up the video, but you want to take your time in doing this procedure. And then you want to always use your fingers to burnish the transfer down after you use the stick. You can also use a fine grit sandpaper too if you want to give a little distress to the transfer. You can use a finishing pad. That does a nice job on them too. So I love the way that little piece of the transfer went around the sides. These colors are just so pretty with this boho sole transfer. So I'm glad Terri picked it for me. We picked it for each other. We must both like it. I can't wait to see Terri's project. And you know, the whole idea of this thing is to inspire you and to show you some different ways. So please subscribe to our channels. That would be awesome. And we will be putting a playlist at the end screen as well, so that you can check out all of the videos from all of the Dixie Belle retailers that participated in this challenge. Okay, so here's my thoughts on this seat. Well, I'm saving my thoughts till the end, but here comes more of the boho sole transfer. I wanted to use the image that was the dark black one, and now I'm adding a little bit more of the steampunk transfer, and I did layer the two together. So after I was finished, originally I was thinking all along that perhaps I wanted to add some of the colors from those transfers, the boho sole transfer, but instead I started thinking about our chameleon waxes and how they might be able to enhance this magical look as well. So I used apricot, lilac, and cactus, all three of the chameleon colors. And I just kind of used my fingers and just kind of did like a star or a crosshatch kind of thing. My thoughts were kind of like stars, how they would shine. So just kind of did a little burst, kind of crosshatch type of application. Chameleon waxes are awesome because, like a chameleon, they change depending on the background. So I even used some on the dark wood to sort of color in those feathers. The chameleon waxes are such a subtle look. It's been my experience that they show up really well on dark colors, especially it pops on the caviar to me. But I also think that it showed up really well on the holy guacamole for some reason. I did use a pretty heavy hand with it though and applied a lot of the wax. So I think that I got a good result, but check it out on the caviar. It's almost neon. And I didn't want complete coverage, so I just kind of did that with it, just pulled the color down on the piece. We're nearing the end, and I just love the way this piece is turning out. One thing to note, remember during our challenge, Terri sent me a bit of a transfer and I sent her a bit of a transfer. So I sent her an Alice in Wonderland scrap and she sent me the cacti and succulents transfer. So I'm still using gilding wax. I put a little bit on the black and white areas and that showed up really cool. So here it is. Here's the little cacti and succulents bit that I put down at the bottom of the leg. So now I am using some Tite Bond Quick and Thick glue and gluing the chair down. And I'm using some Big Mama's butter, and it is bringing out that wood beautifully, and it's also enhancing the transfer. It's just making it pop, and I love the way it looks. Also doing the same on the chair, and this to me is pretty dramatic. You can just see the wood grain in that chair. Who would have thought an old beat up piece of plywood that's underneath that old stained fabric could be this attractive? And if only you could smell this. I'm using the Orange Grove, and it just makes it smell amazing. I tend to use the Orange Grove more than Suzanne's Garden, just because when I'm working with florals a lot, I'll use the rose scented one. I take the butter all over the entire piece to, it can be used as a wax or sealer as well, as it's great inside the drawers to condition them and scent them, but I go over the entire piece. And then I wipe it back a little bit just to get the excess oil off. Then the last part of this isn't a painting technique, but I feel like it was the finishing touch. We used upholsterer's tacks and just put them in all of the holes where there once were nails. And it did attach it as well as the glue to the top of the chair. And like I said, I feel like it just added that perfect touch to the end piece. Are you ready to see how this piece turned out? I'm ready to give you my tour and my thought process on the entire piece. It starts at the bottom with this little succulent transfer, and the color is caviar. It's very dark, and it moves up a little fantasy on this side. It's grounded. The succulent grows at the bottom. There is a little bit of a feather, but it's a darker one. My thought was that this whole seat was once in a college, because it's obviously meant for an adult. And that transfer represents the things that they're supposed to be studying. And the black and white around the edges are, you know, the way that things are in school. They're all black and white. But then the fantasy begins when the feathers get magical and start to pop off of that area. They sort of flow back into where the body would be on the seat with the boho sole transfer, and then sort of closer to that serious side is the steampunk transfer again with the guy with all the thoughts in his head. So that was my theory in this piece. So either you get it or you don't. And if you don't, you might just say, hey, that's a cool piece of furniture. Either way, I'm happy if you like it. So I love all the details. This definitely was kind of a piece that was maybe self-indulgent, and just I enjoyed it for me. Like I said, I don't know whether anybody else is going to, but I really let loose with this piece and really had a great time doing it. I hope you like it as well. And again, please check out all of those videos from all of these lovely retailers and subscribe to their page. Thank you so much for watching, and I'd appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and share with your friends. Also subscribe to the channel and visit on lavintagedecor.company, that's the website. On Instagram, we're lavintagedecor, and on Facebook, we're lavintagedecor Altoona. Stay well.